Okay, guys, here we go. Today, we're going to be talking about seafood plate. I don't even know what I really call this. This is just a mix of seafood and potatoes and all sorts of different good seafood that goes into this pot, pan, whatever you want to call it. And then basically I throw it on the grill and let it go. And let me tell you, it always turns out fantastic. Big time crowd pleaser. So the basic ingredients here are potatoes, onions, peppers. Typically I do octopus, squid, and sometimes I'll throw in a little shrimp. Absolutely want to throw in some shellfish. You could do fish, like a shark is usually kind of nice because it's a firmer fish. But essentially, it's anything that looks good in the store, that's fresh, you're going to be able to throw it in here. The one thing you have to keep in mind, though, is the fish is going to cook at different times, at different temperatures, essentially the same temperature, rather, I should say, at different times. So my octopus and my squid are going to take a whole lot longer to cook than my shrimp. So you can see here I'm julienning the vegetables, getting them all prepared. I find that when I use onions and peppers and potatoes, it just turns out amazingly delicious on the big green egg. And I'm also putting a garnish together, which is going to be Italian flat leaf parsley and some garlic. You can see here I'm just chopping up the parsley, getting it ready, crushing the garlic, mixing it together, and then just really going through this very finely, making sure that this is chopped really clean and really nicely. And then adding, of course, some extremely high quality, extra virgin, first cold press olive oil. And we'll use that at the end as a garnish. Now, here, when I do this, I find the biggest calamari I could find. And I know people are going to say, oh, it's disgusting, they're terrible. But the reality is, when you're cooking them for about an hour in steam, they're gonna be very, very tender and very delicious. Also, same thing with the octopus. I usually try to find a little bit bigger octopus, but, you know, sometimes we can't. I pop out the beak and wash it off really well. And then we're going to boil the octopus for a few minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, just to get the excess water off of it and allow it to curl up. Make sure you clean everything really well, especially the shellfish. Now, all mussels are going to come in a bag like this. All mussels are going to have a tag on them. Before you buy them, read the tag. They're going to tell you where they were harvested, how long ago they were harvested, and essentially whether they're fresh or not. And you absolutely want to buy the freshest mussels you possibly can. As always, we know if you put the mussels into the oven and cook them, rather not the oven, but the big green egg, and cook them, and they don't open up, don't eat them. Those are bad mussels. Throw them away. Now, all mussels as well are going to have a little beard on them on the side. And here you can see I'm pulling it off. The beard is essentially, you could eat it. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just not pleasant. So what you want to do is find that little hair there. They call it the beard, and just give it a good yank and pull it off. Make sure that you're not feeding that to your guests. It's just not pleasant when you see it. And the mussels will, when they steam and get hot in the big green egg, they're going to open up and release a little bit of liquid. So you want to make sure to pull those beards off as you're washing them. And also get all that sand off the shell as well. That sand is not pleasant when you're eating and then you get a big mouth of gritty sand. It's not nice. So at this point, you guys want to put some water to boil. Definitely add some salt. I use about 2 to 3 tablespoons of salt here. And I'm going to use this water to boil off the octopus. I want the octopus to kind of tighten up a little bit. And if you put the octopus in without boiling it, you're going to get a lot of liquid released. and it just kind of, it makes for, in my opinion, a longer cook, and then you're getting too much liquid in the pan as well. So here I've cleaned the calamari. I'm now cutting it into about 1-inch strips. And I don't like to cut it any less than 1 inch on the tube because they shrink up too much. And again, this is a long cook for the calamari, so it's going to be nice and tender. So you want to cut them into about 1-inch strips as part of the pan that we're putting together here. So water's boiling, and I've got 2 octopus that I'm adding. So just have to be a little careful. And here I made a little mistake. Yeah, there it is. And I realized I wasn't paying attention, and I slapped the octopus onto my vent hood, which wasn't very nice. I always like to boil it with the head down. That way it's going to take the shape of whatever it's going to take the shape. Typically what happens is the legs will go up towards the head. Kind of makes for a pain in the neck when you're cooking them. So again, when you boil it off, you'll get a little bit of the shrink out of them, and it'll be easier to manage later on down the road. Nothing much you could really do with this water here. I know in the past I've boiled potatoes in it and done some other stuff, but at the end of the day, water smells nice, but it's just not worth anything. So now get your octopus out, give them 3 to 5 minutes. You could do more, you could do less. If you're in a hurry and you need to get this done quick, you could give them about 10 minutes. It'll tenderize them a lot. And then when you put them into the pan and throw them onto the big green egg, or if you don't have a big green egg, you could throw them on to your grill or your oven. All of those will have different cook times, but you're definitely going to be able to cook it a lot faster if you boil it more. So now I just want to use a quality extra virgin olive oil here, throw it in my pan, and we're going to start building the pan. And I like to serve it out of the pan. I think it's nice, a nice presentation in the end. You want to swirl that olive oil around, get it up on the edges so nothing sticks. And this pan I got, it's about 18 inches in diameter, maybe a little less, maybe 16, but it's perfect for about 4 people. So 2 octopus, 2 to 4, maybe 6 calamari, some shrimp, 3 pounds of potatoes, some shrimp. I think I did about 10 shrimp and a bag of mussels and maybe a few other things in here. And it was perfect for 4 grown adults, 4 male adults. So just so you know. And we all ate to the point of explosion, so it wasn't as if there was anything left over. I always turn the head up on the octopus to start. Again, for presentation purposes later, you'll see why. But you want to start with the head up, and you can see how those tentacles are kind of up in the air. You can use the tip of your tongs or a knife if some of the legs are kind of in the way, and you could cut the tentacle off the body and still keep it attached, so they'll flatten out a little bit. Here I'm just adding the calamari sporadically spread around. And again, this is going to cook for a good hour in steam. And that's really going to help tenderize the octopus and the calamari. These are small Yukon Gold potatoes. I've peeled them. I've got about 3 pounds of potatoes in here. You could absolutely add more potatoes, and in this case I should have, but I didn't. And they're just so delicious. They soak up all of the juice from the seafood and the salt. And with the onions and the peppers as the base, I mean, they're amazing. So the more, trust me, the more potatoes, the better. You will not regret it. Give everything a good once over with some salt. I do not add pepper to this. I really don't add any other spices other than bay leaf. And occasionally I'll throw in a sprig of rosemary, which I did do on this at the end. But that's about it. Bay leaves and salt. pinch of rosemary, and you're good to go. You really don't need anything else. I don't like putting pepper in. Absolutely no spicy pepper or anything like that. Paprika, nope, none of it. Just bay leaves and salt and a sprig of rosemary if you have it. Fresh rosemary, preferably. Now I will add a little bit of wine to this as well. White wine, much better. The wine is actually going to add some flavor, in particular to everything that's cooking on the bottom. So the onions, the bell peppers, and the potatoes are going to soak up some of that wine. But it also gives off a little bit of steam. And the steam is really what you're cooking the octopus and the calamari in. And that steam is what's going to make it tender. Now, it's also going to put off quite a bit of liquid. So yep, good wine. So the onions and the peppers and the potatoes are going to put off a lot of liquid. And that octopus, even though we boiled it, it's still going to put off some liquid. Here you can see I'm cutting through the tentacles just so they lay a little bit flatter and they cook more evenly. But this is going to put off quite a bit of liquid, and you'll see the first time. Oh yeah, that happened. You'll see the first time I open up the tin foil, it's going to have quite a bit of liquid in there, and that's all part of the process. So once it steams up like that, we're going to we're going to take the aluminum foil off of it and allow it to evaporate. And that evaporation process takes usually about an hour. So I put it into the big green egg. There she is, fired up, ready to go. It's been heating for about an hour. And I want it to go in there between 450 at the most. And if it goes in at 450, you're going to want to pull the temperature back down to about 400, 425 max. And now this is going to sit in here ready to go for an hour. Now I kind of stuffed the aluminum foil around the lip of the pan a little bit too tight, and it was kind of a pain in the neck to get it off. So it does have to be tight, and you can see I put a ton of holes in there to allow that steam to escape. But yeah, I mean, oof, it just smells delicious. And make sure to save that tin foil, that aluminum foil. You're going to need it for later. So at this point, what I want to do is, look at that. Look at how much prettier that is. Now, you want to flip the octopus. You want to flip all the potatoes. The potatoes are cooked. The octopus at this point is cooked. Everything is cooked. Now, is it super tender? No. So what you want to do now is there's quite a bit of liquid that's accumulated at the bottom of that pan. And I want 95% of that liquid to evaporate. And so what I'm going to do is essentially flip everything at this point. It's been an hour. I'm going to cover it back up with the tin foil, but I'm going to cover it back up loosely. And see how everything kind of slides around now that I've flipped it? Actually, I did not throw the tin foil on there yet. So save that tin foil. We'll need it for later. So now it's cooked. Now everything is fully evaporated. And you can see here, there's some stuff stuck. So you gotta make sure to loosen everything up at this point. And it wasn't too bad, but you can see there's very little to no liquid at the bottom of this. And that's important because the mussels and the shrimp, like I had mentioned earlier, they're gonna release a little bit of liquid into this pan. And so you don't want it dry. It can't be dry at this point, but it has to be evaporated about 95%. And now, because for finished presentation purposes, now we're going to lay the shrimp in here, and they're whole shrimp head on. That's the best way to eat shrimp. We're going to lay the shrimp in, and they're going to cook very, very quick. So this is where you would add any fish, any fillet, little neck clams are excellent at this point. The mussels go in, they're fantastic as well. But all of this fish is going to release a certain amount of liquid into this pan. And so what we want to do is put all the quick cooking fish in at the end. And I always estimate about 15 minutes. So at this point, I'm going to cover it up lightly with the tin foil. See, I'm not pressing it down. and I'm going to give it about 15 minutes. Now, again, the big green egg is cooking with wood and charcoal. It's going to cook different than your oven, so it may be a little more, maybe a little less, depending on what you're cooking it in. You can see there, that's the remnants of the rosemary sprig. I put it in a little bit late, and it's just 2 seconds at the end just for some flavor. Now I shake everything. Everything is loose. Nothing is stuck to the bottom. And basically, we are almost ready to go. And I mean, it just looks delicious and it smells fabulous. Now, the most important part. Now you got to garnish it. I mean, look at that. That is delicious. And if you have a good loaf of bread, a loaf of crunchy bread that you made yourself, and dip it into that sauce, I mean, guys, it literally does not get any better than this. This is the top. This is it. This is delicious, and this is a special treat that you should make with your friends and family. Feeds 4 to 6 people, depending on how hungry everybody is. This is it, guys. Make it.